Good evening. Council will come to order. Would all please rise? We'll be led in prayer by President Pro Tem Joe DeLucia.
Almighty God, we ask for your blessing upon the members of this council as we assemble here in this chamber to conduct the ongoing business of our city. With your guidance, we will strive to ensure that all our decisions are for the common good and that your inspiration will instill respect, compassion, and thoughtfulness in all our deliberations. Give us the strength and wisdom to lead by example as the people's representatives, and that peace and harmony will mark all of our proceedings, and keep us faithful to the trust placed in us by the citizens of your community. Amen.
Amen. Alderman Nash, please, the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. This time I'd ask for a motion for the adoption of the minutes of February 5th and February 20th. Is there such a motion, please? Alderman Sheila Hayes and Alderman Nash. Is there discussion on the motion to adopt the minutes? Seeing none, roll call.
Alderman Nash? Yes. Alderwoman Hayes?
Yes.
Alderman Benford?
Yes.
Alderman Gould? Yes. Alderman Singh?
Yes.
President Pro Tem DeLucia? Mayor Knight?
Yes. Thank you. The motion is passed 7-0.
Petitions and communications, number 1, resignation from Harbor Management Commission.
Thank you. At this time, I'd ask for a motion from the floor that this be received. Is there such a motion? Alderwoman Gould, second. Alderwoman Sheila Hayes. Is there discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Alderman Nash? Yes. Alderwoman Hayes? Yes. Alderman Bettencourt?
Yes.
Alderwoman Gould? Yes. Alderman Singh? Yes. President Pro Tem DeLucia?
Yes?
Mayor Knight?
Yes. Thank you. The motion passes 7-0.
Excuse me, Mayor.
Sure.
I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rules to add an item to petitions and communications on tonight's agenda.
Go forward, please.
We have a letter from the mayor of the city of New Britain that I would like to have added to our petition and communications and read into the record, please.
Is it your intent to have every letter we received read into the record tonight?
I'd like to have the other emails that we received added into the record. I am asking for this particular letter because it was received from the mayor of another city in Connecticut. So to give it its due course and respect.
Is there a second? Any further discussion on the motion to suspend? Again, this is the motion to suspend, not a roll call, please.
Alderman Nash?
Yes.
Alderwoman Hayes? Yes. Alderman Bettencourt? Yes. Alderwoman Gould? Yes. Alderman Singh?
Yes.
President Pro Tem DeLucia? Yes. Mayor Knight?
Yes. Motion passes 7-0. You have the floor, sir.
So accordingly, I'd like to add the packet that the mayor's office provided with the emails. It's like maybe 5 of them or 6 of them. Let's see. Oh, I'm sorry. They're from the clerk. One from Mr. Michael Camelucci, one from Mr. Thomas Panano, one from Mr. Mike Brown, one from Dana Williams, and one from Robert Lemire. And I would like to read into the record the letter that you all have a copy of that is on the City of New Britain letterhead. To whom it may concern. I'm sorry.
Just for clarity, Alderman Hayes, you were seconding
Yes.
the motion to add the letters itself? Okay, just for the public record. Thank you. Please go ahead.
Restart. Dated March 1st, 2024, to whom it may concern. It is my sincerest pleasure to write you today to discuss the positive experiences the City of New Britain has had implementing project labor agreements and working specifically with the representatives of the Connecticut building trades. In 2021, the city initiated a complete renovation of Chamberlain Elementary School, a $50 million project, which included a PLA. This project consisted of a complete renovation to the existing structure, which was built in the 1950s, as well as the construction of a new addition, which increased the total size of the building to 107,000 square feet. Our project team, which included the school building committee, construction manager, Newfield Construction, and KBA Architects, were extremely pleased with the inclusion of this PLA, specifically the level of experience and expertise exhibited by the labor working on the project. The project was completed in 2023, and not only was it finished on time, but it also came in under budget. As an additional added benefit to our community, this PLA provided jobs to city residents as well as offering apprenticeships to students just graduating high school. This allowed these students to foster work skills and provide them with career opportunities which otherwise might not have been readily available. The city's experiences with project labor agreements have been nothing but positive as we look forward to including on additional municipal projects. Should you have any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out to me or my office by phone at 860-826-3303 or by email at mayor@newbritainct.gov. Sincerely, Aaron E. Stewart, Mayor, the City of New Britain. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, please.
Alderman Nash?
What are we doing?
We're voting on accepting these letters into the record under petitions and communications. It's the final vote on the motion made.
Yes.
Alderwoman Hayes?
Yes.
Alderman Bettencourt? Yes. Alderwoman Gould?
Yes.
Alderman Singh?
Yes.
President Pro Tem DeLucia?
Yes?
Mayor Nystrom?
Yes. The motion passes 7-0.
City Manager's report?
Thank you. The city manager's report is for March 4th, 2024. Meetings attended were with state representatives and legislators, Southeastern Council of Governments Executive Committee meeting, Norwich Public Utilities City Coordination meeting, and CIF stakeholders meeting. The 2023 grant list was filed on 2/29/24. There was an overall increase of 33.78% from the 2022 grant list. The Board of Assessment of Appeals will be taking applications to appeal incorrect assessments from March 1st through March 20th. The Board of Assessment Appeals will be meeting in April to hear appeals and dates and times and will be determined by the number of applications received. The budget process is underway. Comptroller Josh Pothier has forwarded draft budget pages to each department for review. These draft numbers are subject to change as we receive more information, such as State of Connecticut formula grant numbers and projections of other revenues and expenditures. Josh and I will be meeting with departments in person if needed. My assistant, Jackie Barbaroso, has scheduled and advised the departments of their hearings, which will take place on April 2nd, 8th, 9th, and 11th, and the 11th in council chambers. The schedule is also posted on the city's website. The city has submitted a DECD Brownfields Round 19 grant application of $4 million for the Cape Heart Mill Riverfront Park project. Norwich Youth, Family, and Recreation has started a free rugby program. The Rose City Raptors rugby team has completed 2 of their 4 introductory clinics and continues to recruit members. Please contact Recreation at 860-823-3791 for additional information. Welcome to Craig Kleeman, the new Director of Community Development. Craig started on Monday, February 26th. He met with the Community Development Advisory Committee and Project Year 50 applicants on February 29th, and again we'll be meeting on March 5th. Deliberations for CDBG funds will begin on Tuesday, March 12th. Thank you to the Norwich Events Organization and volunteers for the 10th Annual St. Patrick's Day Parade, which was held on March 3rd. The weather was perfect for the marchers and the thousands that viewed the parade. And that concludes my report for this evening.
Thank you, John. Other questions of the city manager? Alderman Nash.
City Manager, I was just wondering if there's been any update on to when you're going to be restarting the Chiefs meetings.
There is indirect talks on, there's too much volume in this. There's some indirect talks on that. I will be not reconvening the meetings until the chiefs retract their letter to the city threatening a lawsuit if their wishes are not granted. So that's in discussion. I hope to hear from the chiefs in the next week or so to see if that will occur. Then we can move forward again.
Thank you. Could you report that to us next meeting so we're aware of what
Yeah,
Thank
yeah.
you. I appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Any further questions with John? Okay, thank you. We'll move on.
Citizen comment on resolutions on agenda items only.
Thank you. At this time, I declare the citizen comment resolutions to be open. If you wish to speak to the council, please approach the dais, state your name and address clearly. For the public record, each person has 3 minutes. The first person on the first sheet that I have in front of me is Mr. Russell Hyde.
Yes, my name is Russell Hyde, a 50-year member of the United Brotherhood of Carpenters and Joiners of America. I have worked on every kind of construction project. Most all of these projects were completed by skilled and well-trained journeymen. In our union, we have at least 30 different training classes available to our members, with which we improve our knowledge of all facets of the task at hand. For the state to grant us $350 million is a godsend. We better spend it wisely. I have worked on at least 6 different schools in our area, all of them using trained craftsmen from different trades when we enter these buildings, notice right away the skill level of work is performed. Most all school projects have worked on generally have a town or city appointed clerk of the works who keeps an eye on budget, quality, and progress of work. I strongly suggest Norwich do the same. The selective person in that job should have a solid credentials in this field. I am hoping that our appointed elected officials make the correct choices. Sign a PLA. As my late uncle used to say, the quality will still be here long after the headache of the cost. Thank you.
Thank you, Russ. Next person signed is Angel, and I cannot read the last name. I apologize. If you'd state your last name for the record, please, and address.
My name is Angel Rosado, 50 Sunnyside East Road here in Norwich. I'm here to state that I am in favor for the moving forward of the erections of the schools in this area, because right now I'm working out of state, and it'd be nice to have some work real close to home, really good in gas. And above that, I've been a resident here since I was 10, and I would like to give back to the community I grew up in. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Fred Ladd.
Good evening. My name's Frederick Ladd, 277 Old Canterbury Turnpike. I am a 35-year resident of the city of Norwich. I am also a 37-year member of the IBW Local 35, where I am the sitting recording secretary and a trustee on our benefit funds. I was able to buy my first home in 1989 at the age of 22 because of my affiliation with Local 35. My 3 daughters were born and raised in Norwich, attending the local schools from K through 12. Myself and my family have been active members in the Norwich community a long time. I myself received the presidential recognition for my efforts on the Upper Falls powerhouse cleanup and rehab in 1994. I was part of the drive to relight City Hall for Christmas. I've been a PAL coach, and I played in many of the city leagues. I estimate I have paid around $200,000 in taxes to the city of Norwich. And I think a stand against PLAs is not looking out for or in the best interest of our residents. PLAs are not about hiring union contractors or saving money. It's about having an agreement in place to ensure that city residents get the jobs, to keep cost overruns in check, and to make sure the workers are getting paid prevailing wage and all federal and state standards are being met on the job. It is, in my opinion, a vote against PLAs would be fiscally irresponsible to our residents who voted in favor of the bond to build the new schools. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Jaden Baudette.
Good evening. My name is Jaden Baudette. I live in 81 Oxford Drive up in the industrial park. I'm here representing the local 777. I feel PLA would be very beneficial for us residents and workers. A PLA would be very beneficial for the community to keep the job personal and to keep the residents involved. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ryan Michalek. Hope I pronounced that well. No one ever gets it right. Oh, sorry.
My name is Ryan Mahalik from 294 Central Ave. I've lived in Norwich on and off since the 2nd grade. Sorry if I look a little disheveled. I had to come from work. I had to take 95 for about an hour coming back from New Haven because there's simply not enough work available here in town. I refuse to ride the coattails of the casino ever again. I know you're worried about budgets and possible referendums, but there's more to a PLA than just the bottom line. It's an investment in the community that you're entrusted to stand for. We have an opportunity to prime the next era of apprentices and residents coming out of Norwich Tech, and we have a responsibility to set them up as best we can with good paying jobs, pensions, annuities, everything we need to survive the next economic crisis that we know is going to come around the corner next. Unfortunately, that's not really up to me to develop this garden that we call the Rose of New England that people ought to be growing into, not growing out of to go someplace they can actually afford. Uh, that's up to all of you. I cast my vote. I see most of the people I voted for actually here right now anyways. I'm entrusting you to take care of the community that despite the number of times I moved out of, I've always returned to. This is my home, and if I could, I'd like to be able to afford still living here for as long as I can, and I think the next generation of residents deserves the same. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Matt Quigley?
Good evening. My name is Matthew Quigley, 140 Hanson Road. I'm also a member of AFSCME Local 1565. I serve on their executive board as well. I stand here with our brothers and sisters of the building trades. The PLA will ensure 25% of all construction workers on the school construction projects will be Norwich residents. Also include opportunities for returning veterans through Helmets to Hard Hat program. PLAs are an effective tool to ensure timely completion of projects on or under budget. They also improve worker health and safety in the job. The Building Trades Training Institute will be working closely with NFA, Norwich Tech to provide a pipeline for graduates to enter the building trades apprenticeship programs. PLA is the right choice, so make the right decision. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Michael Byers?
Good evening, City Council, and good evening, fellow Connecticut residents. My name is Michael Byers. I have been a Norwich resident for many years. I graduated from Norwich Free Academy as well as Three Rivers Community College. I have recently begun the apprenticeship program for the Local 1 BAC, and during my time of working at and gaining the knowledge to become an apprentice as well as to be further on a journeyman, I have learned the importance of PLAs to help and to not only benefit our community, but also for the workers themselves, whether they're on the job or outside of the job. And I hope that in the future, myself and my other constituents will also work towards making sure that the community is working for itself instead of trying to find that help outside of it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. David Jarvis?
Good evening. Thank you for your time. Appreciate each one of you. Good to see you again. My name is Dave Jarvis. I live in Brooklyn, Connecticut. I am a representative with the North Atlantic States Regional Council of Carpenters.
Could we have your street address, please?
95 Bunny Lane, Brooklyn, Connecticut.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So I represent, part of the organization represents 30,000 carpenters here in New England across the 6 states, 7 states including New York, 3,000 locally here in Connecticut. Many of you may recognize my face from walking the streets of this city, helping secure a better future with new schools and a council that listens to the people. Norwich is a city of broken dreams and broken promises, a city looking for a chance to be better, a city looking for hope. Hope comes in all forms. Many find their hope in the promises of God. Some find their hope in their ability to provide for their family. There is lots of potential in these streets. The people of this city are worth fighting for. The people of this city are counting on this council to hear their voice and to help them achieve a better future. We are here tonight to amplify and unite with the people of this great city. We're asking this council to create the opportunity for people of this city to have access to a career and a sustainable future. The PLA that is being discussed tonight gives the opportunity every citizen of Norwich and even some in the surrounding areas. This is not just for the kids, but those looking for a career from every demographic. We ask one thing, that this council please put away any political party agenda and maybe even personal biases and hear the voice of the people. There are some that have personal agenda that follow the whim of the elite and try to further or limit the greatness of this city, hiding behind the phrase, looking out for the taxpayer. We all would love lower taxes. However, sometimes you have to spend money to make money. And if Norwich is going to spend money, then let's use it to invest in the people of Norwich. The mayor has complained about the lack of loyalty of the city workers because some don't live in the city. Mr. Mayor, it's time to remember your oath and be loyal to the people of this city and put aside your personal agenda that far more people live in this city than contractors ever will. The PLA is a growth engine that provides hope, dignity, and a career for the citizens of Norwich. It's time to allow this city to grow and institute this PLA with a yes vote. We, the people, are counting on this council to do what is right. For the people, by the people, and we all win. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Josh Taylor.
Hello, my name is Joshua Taylor. I'm here for Local 547 of the Laborers. My address is 134 Baltic Street. I'm here to support the PLA because I have 2 young children that will be coming up in the schools, and also to support the families that will be working on the project. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mitch Molesky.
Hi, I'm Mitchell Molesky Jr. I live at 27 Bentley Ave in Norwich, and I'm from work out of Local 547 in Groton, and I'm in support of the PLA to keep the local citizens working here, the local residents, and help provide for their family instead of sending the money elsewhere. Thank you.
Thank you. Brian Sardi? Sanchi. Sorry.
Teresa would have a fit. My name is Brian Sanchi. I live at 42 Cedar Lane here in Norwich, and I am here in favor of the PLA for the city school projects. I'm a deli manager for Stop and Shop. I've been with them for almost 39 years and being such a proud union member for that time also. With my union contract, I have great health benefits and a secure retirement and scheduled raises that I can rely on. I'm a union steward, and as such, I ensure that all my members have a safe workplace. And as a deli manager, I know that the union also provides a workforce that is well trained and taken care of and held to high standards. I know that when a union worker is protected by a union contract, both the worker and the employer are protected because they both are held to high standards and expectations. A PLA makes financial sense as a city resident. It will guarantee proper wages and benefits and being paid to members of the project, and will ensure that our Norwich tax dollars are spent responsibly. With this PLA, we know that the millions of taxpayer dollars will be spent on wages that benefit directly into the city and the residents thus working in the city. This is a great way to keep Norwich money within the city limits. Finally, as a union member, I know the importance of work-family balance. As many have said already, they travel for their jobs. Many of our state's contract workers are forced to drive long distances. A PLA will help the Norwich residents and allow them to work close to home, which will allow them to potentially spend their money locally at local establishments for their lunches and also be home to spend time with their family. Thank you for supporting the city and for allowing me to speak in approval of this PLA. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Rich Griffith.
Good evening, everyone. Rich Griffith, 30 Trading Cove Circle, Norwich. I've been in the union since 1986, a member of Local 1, BAC, Bricklayers Alley Craftsman. And I'm just saying that the PLA would offer quality work and a chance to gather local residents and bring them together to give them a better quality of life. If it wasn't for the union myself, I don't think I'd be able to save what I have in my annuity and my pension. And I just think that the difference between the union is not that much of a difference to go without the PLA. And as we've spoken before about the Chamberlain School, the company I currently work for did work on that project. So thank you. God bless.
Thank you, sir. Sean Fisher.
I am originally from Norwich, but since our local doesn't have any of these guys in this area, I'm the closest one from Griswold, Connecticut. And I view the PLA.
Excuse me, could we have your address, sir?
Yes, it is 286 Richardson Hill Road, Griswold, Connecticut.
Thank you.
And I'm thinking about the young kids growing up these days in the tech schools. I myself, I got to work in many high schools across the United States. Las Vegas, close as Rhode Island, Sandy Hook. And when things get tough and there's no work, and you have this apprenticeship card, and you make yourself, you work to journeyman, you have that opportunity to travel for work in case things happen, God forbid that happens. So I'm in good favor of the PLA arrangements for helping newcomers into the locals. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next person's first name is Nick, lives on White Street, but the last name I don't want to mispronounce.
My name is Nicholas Stoloronic. I live on 5 White Street, Norwich, Connecticut. I lived in Norwich all my life. I grew up in the Greenville section of Norwich, and I bought a house there in 2016. I'm a taxpayer in Norwich. I'm part of Labor's Local 547. And like some of the other members have said, you know, like I'm working in Bristol, Connecticut right now. I drive 120 miles a day to work. So that's like 10% of my paycheck goes to fuel. And it would just be nice to see a project labor agreement for these school projects in Norwich, so some of us union members don't have to drive so far to go to work, you know what I mean? And maybe someday I can get home early enough to get my kids off the school bus, you know? So, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Greg Morello.
Craig, he had an emergency, he had to leave, but I'm Don Barnes. I'm the Vice President of Teamsters Local 493. And our president couldn't make it tonight because he's in Washington at a UPS panel, but he wrote a letter, and if I may, it says, as the president of Teamsters Local 493, here to support the PLA, which protects our union jobs, provides union health care and pensions to our union family members. We represent multiple companies in Norwich, represent 177 residents in Norwich under Local 493. Mayor Nystrom, you enjoyed the wages and the benefits for 25 years while you was employed by UPS working for Teamsters 493. You're still reaping the rewards of collecting the Teamster pension. We're just trying to maintain the same standards for our members to have the same opportunity and the benefits that you were awarded. Thank you.
Thank you. Lawson Higgins.
Good evening. My name is Lawson Higgins. I've been living in Norwich for a few years now, bought a home here. I live on 59 Knoll Crest Road. I have 2 small children that attend the Norwich schools, so I'm 100% in favor of this PLA. Also, union labor for the last 25 years. I know the strength and the power of the unions, and I'd love to see this thing go forward. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Bob Barnes.
Hi, I'm Bob Barnes, 359 Central Avenue. I've been a member of Local 547 for the last 25 years. I really hope this goes PLA. I'm at a PLA job right now in Manchester, Connecticut. Everywhere I work, we do a lot of schools. They're all PLA schools. And to be honest with you, you get a better product. We have probably the #1 training facility up in Hartford, Connecticut. So the workers are very, very highly trained and skilled. And I hope this goes through so that I can have a night that I'm home for dinner. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Joe Toner.
Good evening, Joe Toner. I live at 11 Old Mill Road, Quaker Hill, Connecticut. And I'm the executive director of the Connecticut State Building Trades Council. I proudly represent 30,000 men and women in the unionized construction industry. And thank you for having us tonight. As you can see, we have a lot of members here. We have a lot of people that are taking time away from their families to talk to you about the importance of, A, working in town and recycling tax dollars. But Before I start on the PLA with the schools, I want to thank everybody here tonight for the vote you had last board meeting, approving the raise grant. As many people know on the dais, I'll explain it to some of the folks in the crowd. A federal raise grant, you score more points if from the Biden administration, the federal government, and the raise grant is going to help development here in Norwich. It also says you'll have more opportunity to secure the grant if you use a project labor agreement. And Mr. Mayor, we thank you for signing on to that. I mean, it's a step in the right direction. I mean, on behalf of all the folks that are in town here and the 30,000 people that I proudly represent, thank you for stepping out and doing that. But to get to the schools, I want to bring up a few points I think that make sense. One of the things is we know that over $20 million will be recycled for Norwich residents in wages and benefits. That's incredible. By having 25% of all the people working on the construction projects, 1 out of every 4 workers is going to be a Norwich resident. Over $25 million is going to be afforded to your community, to the residents of this community. That's second to none. The pipeline that is going to be built, since the schools are going to be going out for 4 or 5 years, we're going to be able to continue to have classes of Norwich residents come into the building trades continuously for 5 years. The opportunities are second to none. We're going to come in with the Building Trades Training Institute, and we're going to make sure that disadvantaged, unemployed, underemployed folks are going to have an opportunity to get up to the middle class through the building trades, through our registered apprenticeship programs and collective bargaining. That's second to none. That's a gift. The other thing I'd like to bring up, and a few people brought it up earlier, is making sure wages are paid properly. We have great health benefits and a secure retirement. And me, I was fortunate enough to retire from the ironworkers a few years ago after 35 years of service. And Mr. Mayor, you and I both probably know that those pension checks that come at the first of the month, they make a big difference in our livelihoods. And I think everyone should be afforded that opportunity. I think everyone working with their hands, everyone out there working every day. We got folks out here that are limping in here to speak to you. We got folks that are in the car for 3 hours. These folks deserve an opportunity to work in their local community and make the local community proud and recycle the money. And we're willing to help do that. We will do anything we can in the building trades. And one last thing from your owner's rep, CSG, I believe. CSG, I hear they're throwing numbers around that the PLA is going to, let me just finish. The PLA is going to increase the project from 8 to 10%. CSG is in Norwalk right now. We have 3 project labor agreements in Norwalk. South Norwalk School just came in. The bids were secured. We're starting that project this week, and that came in on budget. And Norwalk High School, which was north of $250 million, was also under CSG's preview with the city of Norwalk, and that is actually under budget. So I think we should maybe go back. I would ask the councilors to go back, the aldermen to go back, and maybe speak to CSG and ask for facts instead of throwing out numbers loosely. So thank you for the time, and thank you for the consideration.
Thank you, sir. Edward Pescatello.
How you doing? My name's Ed Pescatello, member of Local 33. My address is 20 Darrow Street, New London, Connecticut. And I just want to say that I'm for the PLA. I worked at 8 schools recently in the area, and most recently New London High School, which was a PLA, and it was also 10 minutes from my house. So it's just nice to have work close to home. So thank you for consideration.
Thank you, sir. Tyler Pantelikos.
Hi, good evening. My name is Tyler Pantelikos. I'm from 4 Eagle Street here in Norwich, and I support the ironworkers at Local 15 out of Hartford, Connecticut. I'm a union ironworker. And I would honestly just like to say what an opportunity it would be for myself and for my other colleagues as well to be able to have the opportunity to work here in Norwich and make a positive impact here with the community. I know through the workforce program, as Mr. Toner had just explained, having the opportunity with Norwich Tech and Norwich Free Academy, to be able to have both of those students come together, to be able to potentially join our trades and be able to build themselves into a profession is can't miss. So I just hope you guys would really consider working into a PLA. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. That completes those who signed up ahead of time. If others wish to speak, I'll go left and right sides of the room. and I'll recognize you as you raise your hand, please. Again, same name and address, 3 minutes, please. Yes, please.
Good evening. My name is Amanda Molesky. I live at 27 Bentley Ave in Norwich. I also currently work for Norwich Public Schools, and having a husband that is in the union as well, I see the benefits every day of the union workers and the quality of work that they do, and knowing that they're going to have local residents working on the schools. It would be fabulous, and being able to have those that graduate from the schools that have that opportunity. So I thoroughly support the PLA for the school projects. Thank you.
Thank you. Yep, Peter.
Good evening. My name's Pete Procco. I come from the beautiful section of Greenville. I run the NRZ, which is the Neighborhood Revitalization Zone. Thank you for getting the schools in shape for us, but I'm going to speak for this room full of construction workers. I came from the trades. I know all about the unions. I don't know many of these people by name, but because I know the power and how good and well trained they are, I trust these people to build wonderful schools. And again, Greenville is in dire need of a school, and thank you very much for having it come back. I didn't expect to speak tonight, but I can't not speak for my brothers. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Yes, please.
Good evening. My name is Jody Barr. I'm from 21 Heritage Drive in Marlborough, Connecticut. I proudly represent 30,000 AFSCME members across Connecticut, including 4 locals here in Norwich. On behalf of them, I came here to support our trades, support the PLA, and on behalf of my members, we do the same. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Left side. Yes, sir.
Good evening, guys. My name's Steve Sipperly. I live on 224 K Street. I've been living here for 60 years in Norwich. Been a union carpenter for 42 years. I'm retired due to injuries from 40 years of hard work and construction work. You heard all these guys tonight. Some guys are better speakers than others. No one talked about the quality of work that we do. That's why we do all the work at Foxwoods and Mohegan Sun, all these big projects, because our safety and our training and the professional work we do is the best around. And we all heard these stories about these new schools, that the roofs leaked, and the gymnasium floor buckled, and they had to spend millions of dollars extra to do the repair work because they went with a cheaper bid or whatever. We all heard that stuff. And if you want your project, you want your schools built on time and on the budget and professionally done with no problems, please sign a PLA. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Deanna Rhodes, Director of Planning and Neighborhood Services. I'm just going to pivot for a second. I wanted to speak about items 1, 2, and 3. For resolutions, I just wanted to show my support for items 1 and 2, and to just clarify, item 3 was in the newspaper as being creation of a new park. And I just wanted you to know it's not a new park. It's some land that is in an existing neighborhood. It's quite a bit of wetlands there, and it's in a natural state, and we just want it to be merged together as open space for the city. Thank you.
Thank you, Deanna. please, sir.
Good evening, Ned Rimondi, 361 Palmer Street Extension. And I've lived there all my life, and I support PLAs because, you know, I believe they work, and that's why they're popular. And hopefully, these projects will get done on a timely fashion, and thank you.
Thank you, Ned. Right side. Anyone else like to speak on it? Please, miss.
Hi, my name is Lisa Baudet. I live at 187 Maple Street, Norwich, Connecticut. I grew up in Norwich, I went to school in Norwich, and I work for Norwich Public Schools. My son went to Norwich Tech. He is in the pipe fitter union, and he's doing amazing. But you know what? He has to drive an hour away every single day to work. He's 20 years old. He's got 12,000 miles on his car the first 6 months he had it. I mean, that's a lot. He needs to be home. He needs to be here. And we need to keep all of these people working here in the city for us. And our schools need dedicated people that are going to be here to take care of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Left side again. Anyone on this side hasn't had a chance to speak? Please. Welcome.
Good evening, members of the board and mayor. My name is Bill Finch. I live at 70 Crown Street, Bridgeport, Connecticut. I represent the electrical contractors who are unionized. They belong to the National Electrical Contractors Association, and I represent the fine men and women of the IBEW, the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers. I'd like to talk first as a representative of those folks and tell you that they will be here, local members of your community, to build the best building that you can ever imagine. As mayor, I'd like to tell you that I did about $500 million in project labor agreements. We never had a project late, we never had a project over budget, and no worker was ever seriously injured. PLAs are worth their weight in gold. They're the best insurance policy you can have. I'll just tell you one quick story about the Discovery Magnet. We asked the construction manager to hire local. 75% of the workers that built the award-winning Science Interdistrict Magnet were women and minorities, and they were all from the local community. And that was at a terribly depressing time in our history, and that money stayed in our community. It went into church basket collections, it went into barbershops, it went into bodegas, and it kept us afloat. I couldn't think of a better policy that I ever implemented as mayor of Bridgeport than project labor agreements. We got what we paid for, and I would urge their approval.
Thank you, Bill. Nice to see you again. Hold on, this side. Someone hasn't spoken yet? Anyone on this side has not had a chance to speak? Come on up, Russ.
I'm going to give you something to think about. Probably 10, 12 years ago, we were called on a job to go up at Yukon to do all the door checks, automatic opening, closing. In the building, they were doing inspections, and they were going through and pulling the fire alarms. No fire alarm sounded. Come to find out, the company that did the electrical work at this building in Yukon, there was no wires run to them. That entailed tearing every single finished wall down and apart and rewiring it. And they used union electricians the second time around. So think about that.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else like to speak at this time on the 4 resolutions before us? Yep, please, miss.
Hi, I'm Tiffany Jensen. I live at 49 Jerome Road in Uncasville. I am a member of IBEW Local 35 out of Hartford, Connecticut. I have been a proud member for 9 years this year. and I am in support of PLAs. I know that it doesn't give us an automatic in, but it does give us a fighting chance to show our quality and our experience. And sorry if I'm sounding nervous, but I'm 28 weeks pregnant right now, so I'm bringing my first child into the world. And I look forward to the possibility of working closer to home and to have him experience like everything in our great community and to drive by the buildings around here and show him that I worked at that building or I worked on this building. So I just wanted to say that I support PLAs and the community. Thank you.
Thank you. And who else would like to join us at this time on citizen comment on the four resolutions who had not had an opportunity? Anyone else at this time like to speak on the four resolutions before us? Anyone else at this time like to speak on the four? If you have, I'm looking for new speakers. Make sure they get an opportunity. Anyone else who has not had a chance to speak at this time would like to join us, speak on the four resolutions? Again, anyone else who has not had a chance to speak would like to at this time? We have to ask at least 3 times. If you'd like to add something to comment, again, name and address, please.
Steve Sipperly, 224 K Street. I just wanted to, I was listening to this guy talking about safety and stuff. The gentleman that just was up here, and I went down to the Yannick hotel that they're building down in Yannick, and they got the big, huge grant money for. And I'm watching the guys, and they're up on the roof. They're doing all the screwing and drilling. No one's got a hard hat on. No one's got safety glasses on. Nobody's got safety gloves on. And I'm watching these guys saying, how is this possible, man? Someone's gonna get freaking hurt up there. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention. And the new sewer treatment plant being built in Norwich is being built Union too. So, what does that tell you? Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Again, has anyone not had an opportunity to address us on the issues before us on the resolutions at this time? Yes, sir, please.
Make this short. My name is Tyrone Howesville. I live right down the street at 107 McKinley Avenue, Norwich. I'm all for PLA. I work for 547, the local union, labor union. And just like everybody said, they've been traveling to go to work in other states. I've been traveling 2 hours a day for the last 5 years, one way. And I would like to see something here in Norwich. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Again, anyone like to address the council on their resolutions before it at this time? Again, anyone like to address us at this time on the resolutions before us? Again, anyone like to address us at this time on the resolutions before us? Seeing no one else, I then declare the hearing closed. Thank you all.
New business resolutions. Number 1, relative to authorizing city manager to sell property at 86 Chestnut Street.
At this time, I'd move for a motion to bring this to the floor, please. Is there such a motion? Alderwoman Sheila Hayes, second by Alderman Nash. Is there discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Alderman Nash? Yes. Alderwoman Hayes?
Yes.
Alderman Bettencourt? Yes. Alderwoman Gould? Yes. Alderman Singh? Yes. President Pro Tem DeLucia?
Yes.
Mayor Nystrom?
Yes. Thank you. Resolution 1 is adopted 7-0.
Number 2, relative to authorizing the city manager to sell property at 49 Sertivant Street.
A motion, please, to bring it to the floor. Alderwoman Gould, second Alderman Nash. Is there discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Alderman Nash? Alderwoman Hayes? Alderman Bettencourt? Alderwoman Gould? Alderman Singh? President Pro Tem DeLucia? Mayor Nystrom?
Yes. Thank you. The resolution is adopted 7-0.
Number 3, relative to authorizing the city manager to combine lots at Laurel Circle and Ridgewood Drive through a quitclaim from the city of Norwich to the city of Norwich.
A motion, please, to bring it to the floor. Alderman Singh, second, Alderwoman Sheila Hayes. Is there discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Alderman Nash?
Yes.
Alderwoman Hayes?
Yes.
Alderman Bettencourt?
Yes.
Alderwoman Gould? Alderman Singh? President Pro Tem DeLucia? Mayor Nystrom?
Yes. Thank you. The resolution 3 is adopted 7-0.
Number 4, relative to authorizing the city manager to direct and assist in the implementation of a project labor agreement with respect to school building committee projects.
Thank you. A motion to bring it to the floor. Alderman Bettencourt, second, Alderwoman Sheila Hayes. Is there discussion? President Pro Tem.
I would just like to address a few things that have been circulating around that are inaccurate, and also that questions that have been asked of me through the community. The first thing that I would like to say is that, and we've heard tonight, we've seen evidence of other PLAs and other projects that have been completed. We have received written communication that the implementation of a PLA does not guarantee an increase in project costs. In fact, the records show, the data shows that quite the opposite happens. One question that I was asked a few times in the community has been, what about the money? And my answer is this, that the project in its entirety, all of the schools and all of the components of the project, is capped at $385 million. That is what the voters approved at referendum. It is the building committee's job to find ways to complete all of those components and stay within that limit, period. And as a member of that committee, I hold firm in that. That is our job. That is the work, to get the project done and make sure that it comes in under or at, but no more than what the voters authorized. All right. Third thing I would like to say is that Norwich residents should benefit first and most from this project. They're the ones who are going to be paying for it. Their children are going to be the ones that benefit from it from an educational standpoint. But what about right now? Section 1 in this resolution provides Norwich resident job opportunities, Norwich resident apprenticeship opportunities, career fairs and workforce pipelines for our residents and our high school students as they graduate. All right. And it also provides for community outreach programs for the unemployed and the underemployed in our community who are looking for a way up and out in order to be able to stay here and earn a living wage. And keep in mind that we heard a lot about the amount of money that stays in the community when you have a PLA in place. But let's not forget about the economic impact. Right? You learn in economics 101, in high school even now, one of the things that we learn very quickly is that a dollar earned in a community stays in the economy of that community 6 times before it lands back in a bank. That's real change for a city like Norwich. And we need to keep that money here. PLA is part of how we do that. In Section 2 of this resolution, well, that is where competitive hiring is protected, prevailing wage and benefits are protected. It ensures that the apprenticeship programs are approved by the Connecticut Department of Labor, okay? And it also prevents the double charging of non-union workers if their employees provide on par wages and benefits. No one is forced to join a union. Would we prefer that the prevailing wages were across the board without question, without the need for a PLA? There wouldn't be a such thing if that was the case. The PLA guarantees that, and that is one of the strongest reasons why we need to implement this and vote yes on this tonight. Lastly, I'll just say that we hear the outcry from the community. They want the city to do things differently. This is one of those things one of the changes that we need to make to put the residents first. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there further discussion? Alderman Singh?
Mr. Mayor, of course, I learned a lot during this whole course of discussions about PLA itself, and did a lot of my own research on this on the Department of Labor website, and how PLAs are getting more famous just because of the infrastructure bill that was passed and a lot of federal money which is floating around. But I do agree it is investment in the community and also provide that sense of connection to the people who will be building the new schools who are from the Norwich community. With this new language, I think it addressed all my concerns, because one of the biggest concerns that I had was disruption or delay of the project. And by looking at different PLAs and the communities which has gone through this process, projects were completed on time. Because I know for sure there will be more cost if projects are delayed than putting the PLA in place. So my only request to everyone is we need to see a bigger picture. Last council meeting, we were discussing benefits of PLA and how it gives us more brownie points when we are applying for the grants. But don't forget, we still need reimbursement for other two schools from the state. And there's still a lot of federal money that we can access to. So I think this is the time for us to showcase that we are not inconsistent in our words, and we are trying to do what's right, and it will add more disposable income in our community as well. So I think strategically speaking also, not just looking at all the benefits and what we have heard today, we should all vote yes for this. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there further comment? Alderwoman Sheila Hayes.
So it's really a question to you, Mayor, to Corporation Council. Resolution, substitute language that's been prepared. When do we?
I think there are more than one version that are out there, so I can pass a resolution that the mayor asked the group to consider.
I think she's referring to the red line item.
Right, to the one with, that's here, right, the one that has the red lines with edits?
Yeah. I'm grateful that you raised that issue. We have a guest this evening that's here. Our bond counsel could not be here in attendance. Attorney Robertson is here. He drafted that language, and he's here to be able to answer questions for people.
But I'm asking you, do we have to make a motion?
You most certainly do, if that is to be put on the floor. Yes. Right now, that is not before us.
Right.
If you wish to put that on the floor, now would be an appropriate time. This gentleman has traveled, as many others have, from outside the city to be here to help us answer questions on behalf, again, of our bond counsel who could not attend this evening. He's from.
Okay, so I'd like to make a motion to.
So you would like to substitute?
Substitute resolution.
substitute resolution that's currently in front of you with the red lines in it for the current?
Yes, that's resolution 4 with credits underneath P and C edits 3/124. That is correct?
Yes.
Thank you. Is there a second? Alderwoman Gould seconds it. Okay. He is here to help us outline what those changes are.
Okay.
My name is Rick Robinson. I'm senior partner in the law firm of Pullman and Comley in the Hartford office. I am the senior construction litigator, construction advisor. We represent a lot of municipalities and construction projects, doing things like advising on the procurement of the vendors, the professional vendors, the construction manager, the architect, the owner's rep, to contracting, to handling claims, and avoiding claims, and helping, if we can, to bring projects in on budget and on time. In the course of that activity, I have become familiar with PLAs, and I'm here to answer any questions. If the questions are what happened to what do we do to the resolution? Well, we went through the statute, and if you notice on the first page, the second to last whereas clause, it says, whereas the council of the city of Norwich has determined that it is in the city's best interest that there be project labor agreements for the school building project. That's a statutory requirement. That's one of the things you're going to have to decide. Now, I may be speaking to people who know all about this, and so if I am, I apologize. But to continue, then there's a series of items in here that define what the kinds of things that can make a PLA in the best interest of a municipality as a municipal board determines it to be. One is making skilled workforce available for school building projects to help or prevent construction delays, to promote quality construction for and safety on the school building projects, to promote the advancement of minority and women-owned businesses, and produce a positive effect on apprenticeship and employment opportunities within the Norwich, New London community. The last one is very important, you know, I'm not a proponent or an opponent of a PLA, but in the municipalities with which I've worked, in their consideration of PLAs, at local employment and the development of local apprentices and tradespeople has been critical. And I see that you have established guidelines, percentage guidelines, as hiring goals, and that's important. Obviously, there are those, whether a PLA makes a project more expensive or less expensive is debatable. There's research on both sides. And that's something you have to take into consideration in how you act on this resolution. But there are a lot of things that make construction more expensive than everybody anticipated it would be in the first place. So I just bring that to your attention. And so I go on with the last whereas clause on this page. It says, whereas to implement these interests, the council of the city of Norwich authorizes project labor agreements that in addition to containing the specific provisions the statute requires, the statute requires specific provisions. Among them are a no strike clause, hiring hall clause, a whole bunch of things, that the PLA contain the following provisions. Now, remember something, sometimes there's a misconception about what a PLA is and whether the municipality that authorizes the PLA is a party, a signatory to the PLA. You're not a party to the PLA. You authorize a PLA. And when you're authorizing a PLA, you're authorizing a collective bargaining agreement. You're saying to your construction manager, you have to, as a condition of having this job, enter into a project labor agreement that meets these criteria with the local building trades folks. And then you look at it again after it's done. Because really, it's about the wages, hours, and other conditions of employment of the workers who are going to be on that job. And you don't get involved in that. You're not involved in establishing those. Essentially, project labor agreement takes the existing collective bargaining agreements between the various trades unions and attaches them as exhibits to the PLA and has other provisions. But you have to look at it again, at least the town manager has to look at it again, to make sure that what was negotiated complies with what you authorized. So if you go to the third page, that's what it says. Now, therefore, be it resolved by this city council. And you are a city council, aren't you? It's a city council. I mean, you got aldermen here.
Yes.
Not a common council, not a...
I was a city councilman in another municipality. We weren't called aldermen. We were called many things, but not aldermen.
Yeah, we are too.
Be it resolved by the city council that the city of Norwich be and hereby is authorized to require the construction manager for each school building project enter into a project labor agreement. It contains the terms set forth in sections 1 and 2 above and in the statutes, and that your city manager be and hereby is authorized and directed to provide necessary assistance to the parties in forming the PLA. That the city manager be and hereby is authorized and directed to determine whether the PLAs presented to him contain the terms set forth in sections 1 and 2 above and in the statutes, and submit such project labor agreements to the council that satisfy those requirements to you for your information. Anybody have any questions, other questions?
I'll just say that I like the language. I'm thankful for the revision, actually, because I know there was some of those things that we were going to need to change out of the previous version, and I appreciate the effort. I thought it ties things up very nicely.
Thank you.
Members have questions? Alderwoman Gould.
Excuse me. In section 1, letter B, says the Norwich New London Building Trades Council will make good faith efforts to achieve a hiring goal. What does that mean? A good faith effort? I want to lose 50 pounds. I made a good faith effort. I didn't eat a candy bar yesterday. That doesn't get me to losing the 50 pounds. How do we guarantee that we're going to get 25% of the workforce? And we're talking about, what, 400 or 500 laborers who could be on these jobs? How do we guarantee the 25% of the workforce is coming from Norwich, Connecticut?
Well, I don't know that you can guarantee that 25% of the workforce will come from Norwich, Connecticut. But you have a...
30% is coming from,
Right.
and 30% is coming from New London County.
Right. You will have a construction manager who basically has promised you that he will use his best efforts, it will use its best efforts to accomplish that. Now, is it a guarantee that he'll get it? I don't know. But you can hold their feet to the fire. Your building committee can hold their feet to the fire. If that is important to you, then it will be important to the construction manager. And there are remedies against the construction manager if he fails to live up to that.
All right. And while we're all concerned about...
I hope you're having a better time with your weight than me.
It's an endless battle. $385 million, probably the largest project the city of Norwich has taken on. And I have tried to do my due diligence in reading up about a PLA versus no PLA. And depending on what website you go to, what information you read, there are pros and cons. I'm not an expert. How do we determine how much it costs us to put a PLA into place? Because people have said off the record, on the record, that you're looking anywhere between 5 and 12% because you have a project labor agreement.
There's studies that show that. There's studies that show it's 2%. And there's anecdotal evidence that some jobs come in are not more expensive than they otherwise would be. Remember, you got to pay prevailing wage anyway.
Right, I
So,
understand.
you know,
Davis Bacon wages.
it's
So
not going to
everybody's-
be, the wages and benefits are not going to be all that different, if they're different at all, under a PLA as they would without a PLA. So it's interesting to consider how the studies that say a PLA increases costs have identified the mechanism by which they increase the costs. I don't know, but you know, I can read the same studies you read, the Suffolk University study. There are other studies like that, and some of them are actually of Connecticut projects. They're kind of old, but they're studies of Connecticut projects. I don't know. You know, I've been involved in your construction contracting, but my understanding is that your construction manager will provide pre-construction services for a disclosed fee, almost a bid fee, and it will provide construction services on a cost plus to a guaranteed maximum price basis. And so when you start your contract with the construction manager who's at risk, meaning it holds all the trade contracts, it's the one who's promising to deliver the project for the guaranteed maximum price. But the guaranteed maximum price isn't identified in the initial contract. Yes, you have a budget. It's going to be if you use an AIA type form contract, it's going to be one of the pieces of initial information that's there. But you know, it takes a while to design these projects, and when they're put out to bid, the bids may come in over the appropriation, and then you have choices, and then your contract will provide choices, and you know, you can have it redesigned, you can go out for an additional appropriation. So there are a lot of factors that go into whether that $385 million that you've authorized today is really going to be the number you end up with after all these projects are completed.
Okay, well...
That must be comforting to you.
Well, it's not. And I'll tell you why. Because the City of Norwich residents authorized us to spend up to $385 million. And I understand that if we don't have, before we put a shovel in the ground, if we know that we are going to spend $386 million for this project, that the project cannot move forward until we go back to the taxpayers getting more money.
Okay.
And if the taxpayer said, wait a minute, we authorized $385 million, what do you mean you can't do this for do these projects for that amount, and we vote no, none of this gets off the ground.
You know, you could probably do all 4 projects for $385 million, but they may not be the projects that you anticipate doing for $385 million. When the bids come in at $420 million, then your choice would be to go back and say, we authorized $385 million. You have to redesign and reduce the scope of this project in a way that's acceptable to us so that we're not spending anything more than what the taxpayers have given us.
But that's my concern. I'm trying to look out for...
As well you should.
You know, I want these projects to come to fruition, but I don't want us to be stumbling before we even get out of the gate. Which will bring me to my next question, and my final question right now. The North America's Building Trades Union, which is an arm of the AFL-CIO, recommends that for public building projects, public works projects, that it's the best practice for us to have our project manager, consultant, or staff prepare a report that would identify how the project labor agreement works for us or may work against us. And I got this right off of their website. It says that this report should analyze the particular ways in which a PLA could reasonably be expected to contribute to the economic and efficient completion of the project, savings in labor costs, resolution of conflict, potential benefits, immediate and adequate access to a skilled journey-level workers and apprentices, that it would transfer to a safer and better quality job performance, that how the PLA would contribute to on-time and on-budget completion of the project. And I would like to see some kind of report like that from our construction manager so we know which way we're going. And I was wondering if you think that's an unreasonable request before we make any decisions.
You're putting me on a hot seat.
Well, I'm asking your opinion.
My opinion is you should, I will tell you that I have seen towns that I have advised, municipalities that I have advised, not go through a process like that, but rely on their own judgments about what's in the town's best, the municipality's best interest. That's not the exclusive way to do it. If you want a more sophisticated, searching, third-party analysis, that's something you can do.
Well, this is about the construction manager doing this work. Not
It really shouldn't be the construction manager. It should be your town manager.
Yeah, so
City manager.
I'm sorry, your project manager. Your project manager or / consultant.
Your owner's rep can do it.
Or even if the owner's rep, but you know, I just want to be able to go back to the taxpayer and say, yes, we were absolutely positively concerned about every dollar we spent. This is why we did the things we did. This is why we voted the way we voted.
That's your call.
Thank you.
Anything else? Thank you for inviting me here.
Other members have questions? Don't. Okay, so, well, I do. Sir? Yeah. Well, again, I want to thank you for accepting the invitation to be here, to be a resource for us. In the instance of transparency, this is a resolution that authorizes negotiations for a PLA. It does not authorize a PLA. There's an effort that has to go back with the city manager's assistance.
No, I think that's incorrect.
But said it at the end to begin negotiations. Was that changed as well?
We're not negotiating, the municipality is not authorized to negotiate a contract between.
No, city manager is.
He's
With the labor.
He's authorized the director to provide necessary assistance, not to negotiate.
So that was changed in the red line?
Yes, should have been.
Like,
If it was there, it was there.
It was
if the
in-
negotiation was there originally. I
It
mean, one
was
of the-
initially,
One of
yes.
the issues I had with the original concept was that it assumed that the municipality was going to be a party to this collective bargaining agreement, and it's not. That's not what the statute requires. The statute authorizes. Statute empowers you to authorize a PLA to be used in a project and require that it be used. But it's not a contract with the municipality.
No, it's with the construction manager.
It's with the construction
Yeah.
manager and the building trades.
Okay, so that's a change I didn't pick up on. Thank you for that clarity. This is the issue. First of all, I'd like an answer to a simple question, and this will go to Mark Betancourt. You were chairing the committee that put together the question that went to referendum, and that was adopted on November 8th, 2022. You did not include a PLA at that time. It was an open bid bond. Why did that happen?
Wasn't planning on a PLA at that point.
Shouldn't we have at that time?
Can't tell you. I'm not Nostradamus. So I know when the subject matter started.
Phase two.
Yeah, I mean, this whole project's been something under, and if you mind yielding, I'll talk on the amendment too, if you don't mind.
I asked you the floor. Please go ahead.
All right,
Yeah,
all
to
right.
save
So-
time, that's certain.
Yeah, so anyway, and like, again, I think the original resolution included John, like you mentioned, and CSG, and they specifically mentioned to me that they didn't want to be on that for the same reason as the nice gentleman here has told us about. So, and I was concerned that the resolution, the way it was originally drafted, wouldn't allow our city manager to work out an arrangement that we had talked about at that meeting, where the CM is basically managing the function. You know, they have the PLA. And so subsequently, I've received copies of the PLAs from the Norwich project, from our owners, from our project manager. And I thought that that, you know, is the way to go. I would agree that that's definitely, regardless of statute, seems to be a much more efficient way of dealing with the project. So I'm all in. That's why one of the reasons when I saw the new language, I was very appreciative, because it means I ain't have to worry about any of that stuff. And,
All I'm doing is making it comply with the
yeah,
statute.
no, absolutely. So, and certainly I'm in favor of that. So, so on the amendment, because we're still talking about the amendment.
Yes, the red line version.
Yeah, so, I'm certainly in favor of that, and we should move on, I hope. Thank you.
All right, thank you for that answer. In the instance of transparency, you may or may not be aware that no one on this council has the right to authorize borrowing unless it's $800,000 or less. And that is the charter of the city of Norwich. That's why that question on the schools went to referendum. We heard a letter from the mayor of New Britain. In New Britain, they are not required to go to referendum. They can bond any sum they wish on a given night, on any given meeting. we are bound by the charter. And that's the concern that I have on how this is going forward. I said earlier the PLA should have been on the referendum. Most assuredly it should have, because the only one in my belief that can authorize that are the voters themselves, if there's an increase in cost. Now, as we sit here tonight, we don't even have a cost for the first two schools because it's changed. They're encountering more encumbrances, particularly with the problem of ledge in Greenville, with the wetlands in Stanton School. The projected cost for those two schools, they're not going to come in on budget. We don't know what those numbers are yet. We might have them in the near future. And I'd feel a hell of a lot more comfortable if I knew what those new costs were. But there seemed to be a rush to do this. So that's why it's here tonight. But the bond counsel who you're representing tonight told us clearly that if we can't determine we have enough money within the 385, we shouldn't start the first two schools. And yet we still don't know the cost of the two schools we're starting with. It's like the cart before the horse, and I want to protect the project, all six, because it was a referendum to do all six. You don't get to exclude one. You could change expenses by changing the project, by reducing expenses. We've done that in this city in the past, and the result is we had a police station built insufficiently in size, and it was too small the day it opened. And we're still struggling on how to find a new police station for us. Well, we're the second most distressed municipality in the state, and if you're a resident of Norwich, thank you for coming down to talk to us. You know the taxes are high in this city. Trying to pay for these schools is a very hard, it's a really difficult thing to answer, to make sure that all of you are not so burdened that you leave us. We're supposed to be protecting the tax dollars here. That's our obligation. And we have to protect the entire bond that the voters voted on. It was one package. You can reduce, cut expenses, but then what do you end up with? A subpar new school? I don't want to do that. We can't authorize borrowing as a council. We're not empowered to do that. We may be the only city in the state that has that limitation, but it's real. It's in the charter. That's my misgiving about this. It was mentioned earlier about the PLA with Exit 18, the raised grant. That's before the monies are awarded. We got voter approval almost 2 years ago. We're coming in at the tail end. The voters should have had the opportunity to vote on the PLA. They were not given that opportunity. And my concern is, if we increase the cost of these projects significantly, what will DAS, the Department of Administrative Services, count as an acceptable expenditure?
For reimbursement purposes.
Yeah.
Well, that's my task for tomorrow.
I know it is, but that's a huge issue. Our legislators got us an 80% reimbursement rate instead of the 67%. That's a great gain. But that legislation only applies to the first two schools. We're not guaranteed the 80% on the next 4 projects. That hasn't even been discussed in Hartford yet. We only have the 80% on the first 2, and we still don't know what those costs are going to be as we vote here tonight. What if they come in significantly over the projected costs? We're in trouble. Your partner told us, don't begin a shovel in the ground unless you have that number first. That's what the bond council told us last week.
What do you mean by that number? What's that number?
We don't have the number, that's the problem.
Right.
We clearly may have time if they get it to us in the next couple of weeks, and they're working very hard to do that.
Well, from a construction law point of view, you're not going to put a shovel in the ground until you have accepted the proposed, a guaranteed maximum price that the CM has proposed to you. And if you can't get it to where you want it then you can terminate the construction manager, and you terminate the project, and you start all over again. I mean, maybe, it's not a legal question about the options you have available for financing and the impediments that you, as stewards of as protectors of the public, have with respect to the public treasury. From a legal point of view, you're not going to put a shovel in the ground until you've agreed upon a guaranteed maximum price.
That is true. You mentioned cancel the project. We can't do that. That has to go to referendum. Only they can do that. That's how much authority they have. The problem is they weren't given the chance to vote on it like we're being asked to vote on it tonight, when it should have been part of the question at referendum. And none of you would have to be here tonight. It would have been done. That's the issue. You know, who's protecting? I mean, I was going to offer amendments to your amendment, but in the interest of time, I'm not. But I'm going to mention them. I don't think a good faith effort is enough. I don't think 25% Norwich residents is enough. We heard from former Mayor Finch a figure of 75%. I think we're selling our residents out short if we hold to that weak language and a 25% factor. So those of you who are listening, if you're part of the discussions on the PLA, it would be better to have a higher percentage of Norwich residents hired.
That's up to you.
I understand that. But we clearly hear it. They want to work here and stay here at night and not have to drive on the highway.
Right.
We could strengthen that language. I would hope that would be considered, because I don't think this is strong enough. Clearly, it is not. And our owner's rep, it was stated, had said there was a projected increase. It didn't come from the owner's rep. It came from the actual architects who've already been hired, who were designing the first two schools. They made the statement that it was their belief it would be a 10 to 12% increase. The owner's rep never made that statement.
Who are the architects?
A DRA.
DRA?
Yes. They were also the company that was hired and tasked with helping to put the question together for the referendum.
And are they the ones who gave you the $385 million estimate?
They asked the committee, do you want the PLA in it? They were told no, and you heard the gentleman say it was not planned at that time.
It was never asked.
That's
The
not.
question was never asked.
Well, I'm not here to argue with you, but I'm just sharing what I was told, two separate occasions. I'm pretty sure they would have covered their own ducks, because a PLA is generally considered often in this state. We've heard that. They were told not to include it. That's what they told me. So we're only concerned about completing the entire project, which the voters authorized us. Thank you for putting up with me. Anyone else have questions for him while he's here? He did come a distance, please. Our pro tem, please.
So I also remember, as I was also in that meeting with bond counsel, and I also remember him saying that PLAs don't go to referendum because they cannot be, their cost or saving cannot be quantified at the time of the referendum. So it couldn't be part of the project, because you can't say it's 8%, it's 4%, it's 12%. It's this number of dollars.
You know, I don't know if I really want to get into this thicket.
You don't. If you want to, I'll let you off the hook. I'm not gonna keep you on the hot seat and press you. I'm saying that's what was said. We asked the question directly, and that was the answer. Secondly, this comment that I keep hearing about, oh, the PLA's being rushed through. The PLA's been rushed through. We've been working on this thing for 6 months. We had presentations on both sides of the PLA to the building committee on separate occasions. That was 4 months ago. That process started. Nothing about this has been rushed. This resolution's been edited so many times that it's grown to 3 pages. But regardless, we talk about, well, we shouldn't put a shovel in the ground until the project starts, right? And we heard that from bond counsel, we heard that from you, and I think we all agree to that. But we have absolutely no idea what those numbers are, and as you said, until you have the guaranteed maximum price. That doesn't happen until you get your bids back, and the PLA has to be in place before you go out to bid, so that the people bidding on it know that there's a PLA.
Well, but.
So it's a circular argument, really, to say, oh, well,
But the PLA assumes, as a condition to its effectiveness, that there's going to be a project. I mean, you can't have a PLA if there's no project.
Absolutely right. So to follow that thought, if bids come in and we're at $400 million, okay, and we go back to the voters and say, due to all these conditions, we're at $400 million, and they say no,
and wait till
deal's off.
Wait till you see the qualifications and exclusions you get that are this thick with the proposal that the CM gives you for the guaranteed maximum price. I mean, we're having this problem right now in a big city in Connecticut where the high school project is $350 million. The high school, one school, $350 million. And, you know, should we have a natatorium? Is there an allowance in there for it? And the notion that the $350 million, now they don't have to go to referendum on everything. The notion that the $350 million might not be enough in advance of getting bids, in advance of an understanding of what's happening in the economy, an understanding of what's happening in the labor force. I mean, sometimes it's hard to get. One of the reasons you do a PLA is because you have union people in a hiring home, people who want to come and work on these projects. Non-union contractors trade contractors can bid for this work and can be awarded this work.
As long as they're on the DAS list.
Yeah, well, they have to be qualified. They have to be right, but then they have to pay what the PLA says they have to pay, which is essentially union wages and benefits.
Yep.
But it's not necessarily that you're going to get every contractor on this job is going to be a union contractor. I mean, I don't know. It's construction is very, very difficult. I'm not talking as a lawyer here. I'm talking as someone who's experienced in these kinds of projects and the challenges that face you in these kinds of projects, long-term projects. It's difficult.
You're preaching to the choir with this one. I've been on these. I've been on projects, big projects, and this conversation is not new. Right? Can we get it done for the money we have? It happens on the public side, happens on the private side, it happens in every single project. Right? At somewhere along the line, you have to start, and say the magic words. You have to start value engineering. The building committees have to set priorities on what's really important and what's nice to have. And the architect's grand visions has to be pared down because there is only so much money to work with.
And you got to make sure the plans and specifications are sufficiently clear so that you're not getting a raft of change orders.
And I'm not grandstanding by saying all of this. I'm finally going to land my plane. Bottom line is that with the PLA in place, we know that there are specific benefits to the community. We can talk about the nuts and bolts of those specifics, okay? But there are specific benefits to the community because I believe, and I don't expect a response from you on this. You're just my sounding board right now, okay? But I believe that if we're spending $385 million, for the next, we're carrying this out 30 years?
Yes.
So plus interest for 30 years, okay? That along the way, while we're doing all of this work, okay, our local people should benefit as much as they absolutely positively can.
That's one of the reasons the statute, that the legislature authorized municipalities to authorize PLAs. Didn't require that they do it, but give them the authority to do it. So it's in your hands, as they say.
It is. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Last thing, I'll let you go. The architects who were working on designing these two schools told us that if a PLA had been told to them to include in the bond that went to the vote November 8th, 2020, they would have recommended a higher number above the 385. That's my fear. Now, why do they say that? It's their experience as architects. They've worked on projects with and without. But we're relying on them to bring these designs within budget. And we still don't have the new cost for the two first schools right now. And I don't want the rest of the project jeopardized.
Where are you in the design process?
Pardon me?
Where are you in the design process for those schools?
Schematic design.
Schematically.
Yeah, so 10%, you know.
So you haven't gotten a estimate of probable construction cost at the conclusion of the schematics yet? Well, you will.
No, he would be better. He's chairing, Alderman Betancourt.
So right now, like I said, we're in schematic design. So right now they're meeting, they're doing budget reconciliation stuff. And I'm going to tell you right now, the mayor mentioned this, the Greenville project, regardless of a PLA, is going to have issues. So, and mainly because of the topography on the site. Those of you that local know the site. And it's terribly, terraced would be a kind thing to say about the site. So it'll be a 3-story.
And when the $385 million was given to you as an estimate, was Greenville, were the problems in Greenville considered?
Yes.
All right.
So so there will be challenges. So when we get the numbers back from schematic design, I have no doubt, PLA or no PLA, there's going to be a high number. And we're going to have to work to bring that number down. Now, we start talking about the whole total. We're not going to know about what the whole total for the project is for another 4 years or so. You know, so because all those other projects got to go along their course and get numbers in and do all that. But it's incumbent upon the committee, obviously, to do the work, keep the number as close as possible. And I'll tell you, the Greenville site is the worst one that we're going to have to deal with. So any issues here and stuff we may be able to make up on the back end. But it'll be incumbent upon the committee to do its due diligence and do that. That's what it's going to take. It is not going to be, it won't be easy. And I hope the brothers and sisters out there can encourage the contractors and stuff to try to help us out and get some competition out there so that we can bring in numbers that'll help make this project work. I'd certainly appreciate that. But so obviously for me personally, I certainly, would like this to go through, but again, we're still talking about the amendment, so I don't want to get into the absolute thing. All right, thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much for all your time and travel. Does anyone have any further questions on the amendment before us? Alderwoman Gould.
Does the amendment in the red-lined copy, we've pretty much copied the language that was on the referendum. Do we need to add in here that the Samuel Huntington School to accommodate the central office and the adult education program, because that's what we said it was going to be? Does that need to be in this language?
I would think so in order to be in context with what the voters voted on at referendum. It stated adult education, and somehow that was dropped. I think that should be in there. I believe that's what was contained on the question on the ballot. It said the offices and adult education.
Text. So I don't know if we have to comply with the explanatory text in this language or not.
I think it would enhance the language if we mirrored the resolution or the referendum that the voters approved. I don't want it to be reported, we're not doing adult ed inclusion in the project, because that's how it was submitted to the voters.
I don't have a problem doing that personally. If we want to amend it, we can add it.
Well, I'm just asking a question. I don't know if it has to be included or not.
I don't know if it needs to be.
That was what was in the referendum.
I would go to Corporation Council.
If I may.
City manager, please.
If you compare the bond ordinance that was passed, you should be able to see if that language is included. I don't recall exactly if it got into that detail that it talked about the school in the bonding ordinance. If it didn't, then you can't add it now. But if it's in the bonding ordinance, then you could amend this resolution to include that. But I don't have the bonding ordinance in front of me.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to absolutely say it was, because there was some talk about the ancillary things we're talking about, what different parts of the Board of Ed operation were going to go where after the fact, so I don't want to step out there and say that that was absolutely part of the ordinance.
Well, Josh is trying to frantically look at the
Okay.
ordinance, to find it.
Does council have a copy with him?
He's looking.
Good evening.
This is Josh Parthia, the comptroller, City of Norwich.
So the language in the section 1 of the ordinance said renovation to, nope, skip down to that. The conversion and renovation of the Samuel Huntington School to accommodate central offices, including school administration, transportation, and facilities offices, and adult education.
All right, I mean,
Considered a friendly amendment?
Well,
yeah, I don't, wait a minute.
Wait a minute. But if you listen to that list, it is all of the administrative functions, including the administration of adult education, maybe not the actual classroom space. I mean, that's like 8 levels above our purview when it comes to the Board of Ed's authority and the superintendent's authority to put programs where it best fits the school district. Okay, so if you listen to that list, it talks about facilities, transportation, right? Those are all administrative functions, and I would argue that the last piece is the administration offices for adult education. That was the intent.
Let me give it to Corp Counsel for review of placement of commas.
I would say he was far more adept and prepared than I am.
Yes.
But whereas anyway.
I don't, what numbers?
Unfortunately, the print's too small for me to read.
He's looking to see.
Yeah, live caucus.
Would rule any
It's a whereas
increase
anyway.
caused by a PLA not
Whereas
realizable.
anyway.
Yeah.
I know.
It's not a therefore be it resolved.
Mayor, it's a whereas anyway, so I mean.
I get it, but it was on the question on the ballot.
I know.
Okay, that's all. If you tell me it's too much semantics,
No,
fine.
it's, but, I don't know, it's, if it was
I don't
in
think it's
the,
crucial at this point.
therefore be it resolved, yeah.
Well, I don't want it ignored either. I mean, where do they go if it's not there?
Let Mike, whatever Mike, I'm good either
Well, the
way.
bonding ordinance supersedes everything as far as what you can do, and what you can't.
Why don't you say that?
Here?
Why don't you say that on the mic?
That's where, we're still
If
on,
Mike
we're still
agrees
on
with you,
this.
then we're all
We
right.
haven't even gotten to the motion yet, to the resolution yet. That's all right.
Ask him questions. I don't want them to.
Josh, would you please come back to the microphone?
Includes the renovation of the building.
Okay, you decided, okay.
For me, anyway. For me, anyway.
Josh, please.
Sure.
You have clarity?
Yeah, I believe it lists a number of administrative functions, but then also says and adult education, as if not adult education activities on top of those administrative functions. That's the way I read it.
So are you telling us that's where adult ed now be provided as well in that building?
Yeah, that seems to be the plan in section 1.
That's what I recalled. It's not just office, it's actual adult ed programs in that building.
I think it is.
And I don't want that lost when we're doing this deliberation here.
Again, as I think it was mentioned, the bond ordinance takes precedent anyway. So, and we're talking about the whereas here. So it just really doesn't have a lot of effect. So, I mean, we've talked about it here under discussion. Yeah, we talked about it here on the record. I think it's clear
Perfect.
that, you know.
All right. Thank you, Josh. Yes, Alderman Nash.
I don't know if I'm gonna even add to this discussion anything of quality, but as a person who, I mean, I'm not against unions, I've served in them in various positions, but as a person who's robbed Peter to pay Paul most of his life, obviously when these schools start getting built, there's X amount of dollars designed for 1 school, 2 school, 3 school, 4 school, and if 1 school goes over budgeted, we just, you know, steal a little bit from the next school. But to the point I want to make is that when we get to the last school and it requires, I'm just tossing a number out there, $25 million, and we only have 12 million left, do we just say, yeah, we're not doing that one? Or we just do $12 million worth of renovations and screw the other 14, we don't need it. I'm just, you know, I get it. We can rob Peter to pay Paul. I don't know if this PLA, whatever it's called, it adds money, doesn't add money. All I know is that even 1% increase requires us to go to another referendum. And what happens when, let's say, the citizens say, no, we're not paying another dollar? What do we do now? Do we just do the $12 million renovation and just hope for the best? Or the questions I have are just, this has been a drawn, long out. Yeah, sure, everyone here tonight's going to be in support of a PLA. Get it? You know, I'm sure us evil Republicans can go out and get the other half to come in here next council meeting and say how bad a PLA is. So I'm not even here to argue about that. I don't see anything wrong with a PLA. Don't got any problem with it other than the fact that we have 6 projects and we can only rob Peter so much to pay Paul before we run out of enough money and we don't have nothing for Paul anymore. So I don't know if that added anything to the conversation or not. I do know I don't like the idea of just 5 years of career fairs. I think we should be doing career fairs up to the last project begins. Then we can quit that because, you know, we're talking 6, 7, 8 years maybe for these projects to get done. So why just do job fairs for 5 years? Let's do it till the last project begins, and then we'll stop the job fairs. This way we can get more individuals in the trades instead of just 5 years of it. So that's my 2 cents. I don't know if it added anything to it.
Thank you. Your point is you stop a project. The bond council advised us that there are terms such as abandonment. If you were to be in a position where you're insufficient funds, you would have to have a legal opinion probably from the bond council as to what a definition of insufficient funds are. And would that then constitute going back out to referendum to change the scope of that school? You just can't do it from the 7 sitting here. or whoever's sitting here at that point in time. It won't be within this 2 years. But ultimately, the voters in this city are supposed to have the control on all these issues. And I don't know if that even helps you, Bill, but that's what he told us. Is there further comment? Yes, Alderwoman Gould.
Attorney Richardson.
Richardson.
Richardson?
Robertson.
Robertson, I'm sorry.
Robertson.
Before he left, said he was waiting for tomorrow to get more information from, I believe it was DAS?
That's correct.
Okay. And I don't, so we're waiting to find out about reimbursement.
The question that will be posed is the following. Since a PLA was not considered when the bond was put together and the voters voted on it back in 2022, and the legislation authorizing 80% reimbursement to only the first 2 schools, they haven't discussed the next 4 projects. Does DAS have to accept if a new expense is brought on because of the PLA, and we don't know that answer, can they disallow that as a reimbursable expense? And I don't know that anyone can answer that question, but I asked him, when I talked to him, to get an answer for us so that we know as much information as we can about costs as we go forward to protect the whole project. And that's what he's going to seek, to talk to people he knows in Department of Administrative Services. We certainly want 80% reimbursable on every portion of these construction projects that should be eligible. But because it wasn't in the bond that was voted on, and it wasn't part of the legislation, wasn't listed in the legislation that there's a PLA in this project, we just want to make sure we get reimbursed. That's all. And
So I guess my follow-up to that is, if we're going to have that information at some point in time this week,
hopefully,
and we're waiting for our construction manager to give us a better idea on what Greenville and Stanton school costs will actually be. I thought Mike said he was working on that.
That's from the architects.
I'm sorry, from the architect.
They're doing all that
Right.
due diligence.
Why do we have to vote on this tonight? Why can't it wait 2 weeks or 3 weeks till we have those numbers?
It's a valid question. This issue is going to pass. The question is, should we have enough information to make the most intelligent choice so that we protect the entire project?
Right. I don't see why holding this off for a few weeks, it doesn't change anything, but at least we have the numbers in front of us to make an informed decision about how we're going to move forward. I don't want to find out from the Department of Administrative Services that they're not going to cover some cost and that the taxpayers are now going to have to cover that cost.
All set. Thank you. Yes, sir. Alderman Betancourt.
This is not the first PLA that's ever been done anywhere. You know, these costs, the bid packages will come in, and people will bid the project knowing that there's a PLA in place. Whatever those costs are for each of the jobs that are bid out by the CM, those are all reimbursable costs. That's what you're going to find out. So there is no hard cost associated with a PLA. It's an estimated, depending on who you talk to, as we've heard here today, you know, depending on who you talk to, there may be cost, no cost, but it's all based on the competition. Do we turn people out to bid? You know, we've made adjustments in this PLA, I think, that will help promote contractors to be willing to bid, you know, on the project more than likely, you know, more likely than not. So, and that's why I certainly like the new language and the amendment. I want that to go forward. I have other comments on the question as a whole when we get to that point, but can we just, I hate to motion to call a question ever, but I hope there's nobody else that wants to talk on the amendment, as we really should get this going.
Thank you. Is there further comment? And is everyone clear? We're voting on the amendment that was offered some time ago, the red line amendment. I'm sorry, Corporate Counsel.
Before you vote on it, I ask that the council consider a friendly amendment. I think Attorney Robinson intended to talk about this, but in the performance and the number of questions, he didn't get to it. In the document you have before you, the redraft, the red line version, in the seventh whereas, the first sentence reads, whereas Connecticut General Statute section
3156B.
Whatever,
3156B
reserves the decision whether to, right now, the word is enter into, and he suggests that you substitute authorize. Given the description that since the council is not going to hold this, it's better that you authorize and that.
All right, do we need to make another motion to amend, or do we?
The second one is grammatical. In the very last whereas on that document, in the second line, it reads, agreements that in addition to containing the specific provision of that, and he wants to drop the word that, and I think grammatically it makes more sense to say of Connecticut General Statute. So it's those two changes. I'd ask that the council accept those as an amendment.
Alderman Bencar, are you clear on the change?
The second one I didn't catch. Where's the second one?
On the very last whereas on the first page, the second line, agreements that in addition to containing the specific provisions of, and then the word that appears, and the word that should be eliminated.
All right.
Okay.
And then there is one more. In section 2, paragraph A, it's a minor mistake, oversight in the second to the last full sentence. It reads, may pay the hourly agency fee and not be required to pay the monthly union. It says due, it should be dues with the S on the end. That's all. Small thing, but if we're catching small stuff, let's catch it all.
Where is that, Joe?
And it's on page 2, section 2, paragraph A, second to the last full line, where it says union due, you should put union dues.
Okay, thank you.
I am good personally with considering those friendly amendments in the interest of time here, so.
No,
City Clerk, you have the changes?
Authorizes, take out that and add an S to dues.
Okay.
Well done.
Is there a second to that? Alderwoman Sheila Hayes. On the friendly amendment before us, any discussion? Yes, Alderwoman Gould.
I have one question. So in section 2, part A, so it's all other employees subsequently employed by the contractor shall either elect to become members of the union, but if they choose not to become a union member, they shall not be required to join a union, but may pay the hourly agency fee and not be required to pay monthly union dues.
Right. That's a Janus Supreme Court decision.
yes.
What is your question? Is it
Okay,
to the
I just
issue of
wanted-
what the agency fee is?
I was wondering what the hourly agency fee is.
I don't have that answer.
It's the dues less whatever costs aren't covered under, collective bargaining,
Right, but they
monies.
just said it
It's an
won't be-
audited number every year. They have to do an audit every year to determine what that number is.
But it just says here that they would not be required to pay the monthly union dues, they just have to pay the hourly agency fee.
Right. Which is less than the dues.
Do we know what the hourly agency fee is? No, so.
That's by the
More-
union. It's different for all the different unions.
Yeah, it's different for every local. but it's the cost of representing a non-union member if they require representation, which is the union responsible under the Janus decision.
Which adds more money too.
No difference, built in.
How can it not?
Add more money. She said it.
Is there further discussion or question? If not, roll call on the friendly amendment.
Alderman Nash?
Yes.
Alderwoman Hayes?
Yes.
Alderman Bettencourt? Alderwoman Gould?
Yes.
Alderman Singh?
Yes.
President Pro Tem DeLucia?
Yes?
Mayor Nystrom?
Yes. The friendly amendment passes 7-0. On the resolution and the red line amendment as amended before us at this time, is there further discussion?
We're talking about on,
The amendment as amended
All
to
right,
the resolution itself.
not the resolution itself, but the amendment.
Yeah.
In essence, the resolution, red line amendment became the resolution. It was truly a substitute and not an amendment.
Correct. It was a substitute.
Yes.
All right, that's fine.
No comment?
No.
Okay. Any further comment?
If it's on the resolution, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, we're about to vote. Go ahead.
All right. Just one thing, because I don't want to go over what everybody else has talked about, but yesterday at the parade, for instance, I got to walk with Representative Courtney, and we were chatting about things. This subject matter came up, and certainly he's certainly supportive of these, but above and beyond that, he talked about the biggest project being done in Connecticut right now. It's not a $350 million school, which is pretty big. It's the $700 million project down in Groton at Electric Boat. All right? $700 million project. And folks, that, obviously that's being run by Electric Boat and DOD. Yeah. And it's a PLA. And it is on time, on budget.
All union.
And I've been watching that project go up because I work down the street at Pfizer, or I still do technically, but it was really amazing to see. But it is a PLA and it is working, and there are many other projects around the state that do this. This is not a new thing, folks. This is not a new thing. In fact, they are improved, I would say, than what they used to be, because we considered this briefly for the Kelly project, and we never got there to this point. But this time, it's something we should definitely take advantage of. I think there's great things here, not only for the people here today that are going to get to work near their, near home, which is great, but also because I think the other citizens in this community that can benefit from this project with job training and needs, we need to be promoting the building trades in this country, period. That, to me, is probably one of the most important things that we should be doing. Not, four-year college is not for everyone, all right? It isn't. But folks, people need good paying jobs with benefits. And it's not gonna happen, and it hasn't happened in this country unless you're part of a union, by and large. So, I mentioned, please, no. I'll mention, look, I'm a proud retired member of AFSCME Local 1565, because somebody mentioned, there you go, brother. There we go. I did 15 years on the executive board of that local as a secretary and stuff. Don't believe what they say about me, brother, all right? But so there's no doubt I support unions. But I think, for me, I am more concerned, I will tell you right now, if I didn't think this would work with this project, I would not support it, all right? If I didn't think we could get it done on this project for the $385 million, I would not support it. I believe we can do it, and I believe we will do it. And I look forward to working with all of you in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there further comment? Alderwoman Gould.
The only comment I'm going to make is that I hope that the local businesses that are open shop that are here in Norwich aren't offended by your comments, Alderman Bettencourt, that only union jobs provide the best wages and the best benefits, because I think we have some businesses here that do provide decent benefits, decent wages, the same as a union shop does.
Alderman Nash.
I'll just say that, again, I have no issues with the PLA. All I want to let you know is that getting paid great money is good thing. Trust me, I wish I was making good money. But when the taxes go up, how many of you are going to stay in Norwich and not run off to another community with 20 mills when we're at 51, 52? I hope to see you still here supporting your schools and businesses, whether they're closed shops or open shops. That's all I got to say.
Thank you. Is there further comment? Alderman, Pro Tem DeLucia.
It's not a comment, it's a request of the clerk. Could you please correct the spelling on Alderwoman Hayes' name?
Oh, that's,
Thank you.
Oh,
That's right, I forgot about that.
thank you for that. Is there further comment? Seeing none, roll call. On the amendment, on the resolution as amended. Yeah.
Alderman Nash? Alderwoman Hayes?
Yes.
Alderman Bettencourt?
Yes.
Alderwoman Gould? Alderman Singh? President Pro Tem DeLucia? Mayor Nystrom?
No. The resolution is adopted 4-3. We don't have, there's no executive session. No.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn by Alderwoman Gould. Is there a second? Alderman Nash. Roll call on motion to adjourn.
Alderman Nash? Alderwoman Hayes?
Yes.
Alderman Bettencourt?
Yes.
Alderwoman Gould? Alderman Singh?
Yes, he said yes.
President Pro Tem DeLucia?
Yes.
Mayor Nystrom?
Yes. Motion to adjourn passes 7-0.